Hello, hello. Well, we kind of have a nice fat elephant in the room. We've got somewhat of a victory lap on our hands. Shout out to everyone who helped with QA on this video. Went pretty well. I think it helped out that we posted it on Alex's subreddit. I think that got like the initial push, and then things just kind of went from there. Pretty exciting. Hopefully we just kind of continue doing this type of thing and putting out like really high quality content. Not to say that the Nietzschean Penguin wasn't high quality content over here, but this was the first scripted video essay that we've done. So yeah, the question's going to be then how much time do I spend doing like these types of video essays, if that really gets, hype towards this channel. And I still think it would be only when there's something necessary to say. So I guess going off of that into our awareness, I've got a lot of cool comments on both Reddit, so the subreddit, twice, I guess. Mr. Stan, which that's me. So I tried to respond to a lot of comments. There were obviously more so on YouTube, and a lot of good points made. And yeah, I think this necessitates a second video. I think there is more to. Oh, look at this. What a nice comment. At some point I got overwhelmed by them. I couldn't finish them all. So I was trying to respond to all of them. But there's a lot to respond to here. And then there's stuff that I won't probably respond to. So I guess there was a small percentage of people that made a comment that showed that they really didn't, pay attention to the precise wording I was trying to say. And so those, I think it was pretty much just like, I don't know if there was a comment that I could have responded with that would have been productive. However, the vast majority of people, brought out comments that were, I thought, apt criticisms of like the scope of this video, which I think is fair because I don't think this video is like comprehensive, which is why I think we might need to do one more video to like close the gap. Because I think what people want to know is like, where are we at today with like the leading, Manager Onion Helmet, what's good? Have you seen the good news, I guess? I'm just saying that there were a lot of positive comments here that I think necessitates another video. And I kind of started considering what I've seen the comments on YouTube and Reddit. Nice. Yeah, I'm trying to consider like what the outline of that video could be. And I think it's going to be, I guess I started a Gemini conversation about it. I was actually going crazy mode where I found a tool that allows you to download all the comments, like along with who did them. And then I was able to put that into Gemini and ask it to summarize the comments and my responses, just so that I could like get a clear summary of everything I said and everything people said. And then there were like common themes. Like there were a lot of people that were talking about like the language models and stuff like that, and the philosophical zombie. And I don't know if that's going to be something that we really cover, because I think the thing that is difficult to understand is that there's not like, without these parts, without these underlying components, there is no consciousness. Like the consciousness comes from these components. You can't just have a person that is the exact same makeup without the consciousness. I think that's like you're falling into some like conceptual presupposition there. But I think there's important points to be had about both like filling in this final gap and also the where our conceptual understanding kind of gets in the way of us thinking about whether or not they're like, should we think about this thing as having a gap? It was kind of funny that there was a guy on Reddit named Onion. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, it was. At first, I thought it was you, but then, then I could tell it wasn't. So it must be confused if you noticed. Yeah, yeah, that was confusing. Unless you have a whole squad of onions, a whole army of onions. The one thing I'm kind of curious about is, so I want to make sure, first of all, that the tool that we have, or the bot that we have that puts YouTube chat into this chat works, because I mean, now there's not many, but I think we accumulated like a good 100 subscribers, which that's nice. But yeah, I want to make sure that anything in that chat does actually get here. So, okay, in that chat, I could see that the stuff here is getting there. So I think that's going to work. On the side. Oh, is this? I don't know this creator yet, but I was thinking we could start off with this video, because this seems rather beneficial to watch, or productive to watch, but also might pertain to part 2 stuff, which obviously we are in the year 2026. We are going to be quite interested in anything to do with identifying and pursuing our goals. So, especially if it's evidence-based. So yeah, what do we got? Okay, yeah, I don't know how much I remember from what I was talking about or writing down into Gemini. I really like using Gemini to like think, to literally just dump my thoughts and then see what it says. But yeah, this like I could even see it now, actually. I think someone literally just commented. Yes, someone just commented, there's no challenge here. You're just doing the easy problem of consciousness stuff. And that's like a fair point. Like, I think what people want to see is the complete closing of the hard problem, where technically the homeostatic interpretation does actually like close a decent bit of the hard problem. Like, I think people want to know why there could be consciousness, or like what makes sense of consciousness arising, and how do we make sense of obviously the like what it's doing, right? Like I think a lot of people kind of see some of the neural correlates, but they don't know the interpretation that puts everything together. Like, why would all these different parts of our brain be doing the things that they're doing right now? So those things I think are closed, but there's still this like final bit, which, perhaps isn't closed in our like most contemporary science. So we have to go through the logic of, like, there's this one, I think this is a logical fallacy where people say that because science has not made the connection 100% yet, therefore it can't. And that's that's a serious logical fallacy. So I'm going to have to take real close care to make that script. And then the other thing is I need a, I was a bit surprised. People on YouTube are so willing to spend the time to type out their thoughts in long passages. Yeah, no, I appreciated that. And then I returned the favor and then sent my own body of texts back, which, is beneficial not only because I want to give an apt response. I think it also helps out with engagement, but perhaps best of all, in a very selfish way, it forces me to think through these topics, which I probably should do. Like the interesting thing is, like, on one hand, we really don't need to come to a conclusion about like what consciousness is for the sake of part 1. That said, part 1 does rely on this idea of neural correlates as having a fundamental effect on how we understand and experience the world. So while we can get away with not actually doing that type of investigation, I'm sure that people I talk to are going to bring it up. They're going to ask about consciousness. They're going to talk about consciousness. Yo, Dharmadam, what's good? So I think it's good if we just have like a good grounding of where we are at in terms of consciousness. What's happening? Not much. We're straight chilling. I'm kind of giving a retrospective on the video. I was thinking about the filter theory. Yeah. What are the thoughts? I had an experience in 2019. Nice. I don't know about the theory, but it made me think about it. Yeah, the other thing that's like really crucial to say in this second video that I make is like, I really want to highlight the pragmatic argument that I was trying to make. And it's kind of it's like a philosophy of science argument. It's more so of how we're allowed to talk about evidence and truth and stuff like that, and whether or not we're allowed to speculate on interpretations that are unfounded, but still possible, right? Like that's the crucial point. That I passed out giving blood for a few seconds and had the most expansive abstract experience that felt like it lasted like 200 years. Oh my gosh. Was it a positive experience? The interesting thing that, I don't think I covered this actually in the first video, but we covered it on stream, I think, at some point, is that like when we have memories that feel like they last like a really long time, like it doesn't necessarily always align with the experience actually like lasting a long time in the moment. It's like a way that our memory is consolidated the right word? That it feels like it was a long time. Like there's a, I think it's when you experience like negative emotion in a certain way that you kind of overflow the memory networks such that it like literally affects like a memory that by its own coding feel like once you obviously activate those connections, it's coded in a way that it feels like it was a longer time than it actually was because of how it was coded. I can say a bit more, but really no words for it. I don't blame you. That was like at one point in high school, I got into lucid dreaming. I was trying to do that for a while. And yeah, when you get into that, like you'll notice that you'll start remembering more and more. And it was to the point where I was like waking up multiple times in the middle of the night, writing down a dream. And like I could write down 5 or 6 dreams like in a single night. Like there's just different dreams. But the really interesting thing is like when you wake up, you have to like crystallize that experience down into words. Like you have to reduce it so much. And then so it's always like what words are most important for me to write down, or which words are most apt based on the experience that I remember myself having. Right after I came back, it immediately seemed too abstract for my mind to comprehend. Like I remembered it, but it wouldn't fit into my brain. It related to nothing I had experienced. I could tell it was expansive. There was motion and activity. I was moving between different places, didn't have a body. As I was coming back, I slowly came to my vision from behind. And I thought, oh, nice, this feels fake. I'm going to the fake world. Yes, I had a strong sense of time. It didn't feel like a year, not 10 years, but like felt like 200 years. Wow, that's incredible. Oh no, this feels okay. Right. I thought you were thinking like, oh, nice, we get to go back to the fake world. Yep. Now I do have to like I guess push on the one point that I guess I'm trying to make over and over with regard to a lot of these comments is just because something feels a certain way, like it feels like it is a certain way, doesn't necessarily mean that that is some, like, the way that it is objectively, right? So, you know, if it felt like 200 years, or it felt like the real world rather than the fake world, like that we can make, like, without even figuring out the hard problem of consciousness, we can make sense of the neural correlates that do make that experience possible for you. So regardless of where consciousness, like, comes from, we do know that consciousness has to be operating within these neural mechanisms and correlates that we have. Swaggy Yams, what's good? In high stress situations, people say that it feels like time slows down for them. Do they actually experience a change in their perception of time in the moment, or is it just how their brain consolidates the memory afterwards? Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to allude to, where I don't think it necessarily means that their perception of time slows down in the moment, but it is actually how their brain consolidates the memory that affects the experience of that took a long time. That was a long time. Where did I find this? Where was this actually? Was this actually in the Strange Order of Things? Let's actually figure this out. I think we can figure this out. Does Damasio answer this question in the Strange Order of Things? I think he did. I think that's where I found it. I could be wrong, though. Hard to say. It felt more real because I can't even really recall its character, as I say. If someone teleported me somewhere, like if I teleported somewhere in an instant, I'd ask if they were pranking me. How do you have that quote on hand? Yeah, I don't trust myself enough to think that something like that could actually happen. And I guess in some sense, I trust myself too much to think that thing couldn't happen. Physical world felt fake returning to it. I don't blame you. I think it's like a pretty common thing where when people are on psychedelics, they have these experiences that they literally can't put into words. And then even when they do put into words, they don't understand what the words mean after the fact, like once they're off. Only descriptor that really fits is abstract. Okay, the most abstract thing possible. It's a memorable quote. I'm not like that. Yep, fair enough. Damasio does not appear to directly answer that specific question. Okay, where did I ask this question, or when did I ask this question? Let me try to see. Oh yeah. Here we are. What started this? Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Okay. This was a conversation. Oh, this is stuff that we should cover in the second video on consciousness. This idea of transient attractor states. And specifically, the really interesting part of this is this idea. A mental event must be maintained for a minimum duration to cross the threshold into conscious awareness, often cited as around 100 to 300 milliseconds. So the transient state, imagine like a loop, a single loop that is activated over and over again. Theoretically, we could just say it's the same connections that are just being fired over and over again. And they're firing over and over again, but it's not a single firing that people have found led to the conscious experience. It has to be firing for this amount of time. So then at some point I asked, just for fun, how many activations / waves would occur within the 100 to 300 milliseconds. And so for gamma waves, the high speed integrator, we're looking at like 10 to 30 cycles until we actually are conscious of this event or whatever part of the brain we're looking at that's actually applying or activating in this way. Now, another discussion we need to have in that second video is which parts of the brain, which networks are actually most relevant when we're talking about what leads to consciousness. And I think that this global workspace theory actually points us in that direction. So we're going to cover global workspace theory, a cognitive theory that proposes consciousness arises when information is broadcast across a global workspace, a distributed network of brain regions that makes information available to many specialized unconscious processors. So this is like where the actual, consciousness would take place in theory. And as this says, it's broadcasting that information to other unconscious processors. So it's contributing to this homeostasis that which continues. And then the other theory was the information integration theory. And yeah, this is also looking at this idea of what actually constitutes consciousness, like what type of information needs to be, let's just say, represented or activated. Like representations are manifest through activation in the brain. So I'm gonna have to look into this theory as well, and we'll have to figure out a nice way to talk about all these things. All right, but to actually answer the question, where do we get to these? We did get to this. Okay, this is a shout out to Energy Dompter, who asked this question specifically. David Eagleman's theory of time perception argues that time is not a unitary phenomenon perceived by a single centralized brain clock, but rather a malleable construction of the brain resulting from multiple distributed neural mechanisms that process information at different speeds. The perception of time, often referred to as chronoception, is viewed as a dynamic, context-dependent process, highly susceptible to illusions and distortions based on novelty, attention, and memory. So let's try to get specifically to that question. How close is this to the end? Because we could just ask. I was asking about time flying, oddball situation. Okay. How would Eagleman, was it Eagleman or Eaglemen, answer this question? And I might still have it. Nice. Yep. All right. I got you, Swaggy Yams. Yes, but I've had a lot of psychedelics, and this loss of consciousness was on OBE was on another level, out of body experience, on like 100 different levels. This is kind of random, tangential, but Dharmadam, I don't know if you know Anderson .Paak. He was on Silk Sonic, and obviously he does solo stuff. But before he was Anderson .Paak, he was Breezy Lovejoy. This is the name he went by, and one of his albums was called OBE, and I would recommend it. It's a pretty fun. I don't even know if this counts as an album though. Maybe this is like a mixtape. So highly recommend this one. Pretty fun. All right. How would Eagleman answer this question? We're getting nothing here. What's going on? And we're on 2.5 flash. Oh, never mind. It heard me. No, you do not actually experience a change in your perception of time in the moment. The time slowing effect is an illusion created during the memory consolidation phase afterwards. So from experimental evidence, he bases this firm distinction between perception and memory on his experimental work, most notably the free fall study, testing perception in the moment. They tested subjects' temporal resolution, so the speed at which they could process visual information, while they were in a genuine high-stress situation, being dropped backwards from a 150-foot tower. This is what people call the kick in Inception. The perceptual chronometer subjects were equipped with a device displaying numbers that alternated too fast to read under normal circumstances. The logic was, if time genuinely slows down, the observer should gain a higher frame rate of perception, allowing them to read the previously blurry numbers. Ah. The result, so yeah, I don't know if this is actually a good way to test this type of thing, because on one hand, there's the perception of stimuli, and then on the other hand, there's the experience of consciousness, which could be affected by something else. So, are there any arguments against the evidence, the use of that evidence, suggesting perhaps that the parts of the brain associated with perception are unchanged, but the parts of the brain associated with the experience of time might change? That's a terrible way to ask that question, but let's try to run it. Yes, there are significant neurobiological arguments raised against relying solely on Eagleman's memory-based model, suggesting a real in-the-moment perceptual change is still a possibility. The core argument against Eagleman's conclusion is that his experiment only measured one specific component of perception, visual temporal resolution, and did not directly measure the distinct neural circuits associated with the subjective experience of time passing. So we've got some counter-arguments. Dissociation of time and visual perception. Eagleman's experiment used the perceptual chronometer to test the ability to distinguish rapidly flickering images. Okay, so I'm not going to say this because this is the same, I think, counter hypothesis I just mentioned. The parts of the brain responsible for general visual processing may have their processing speed remain unchanged. However, the separate parts of the brain associated with the experience of duration, like the striatum and prefrontal cortex, could have their rate estimation mechanism affected by the surge of adrenaline. So I guess we haven't figured it out yet. So other than reading all these, I could say, okay, so what does contemporary neuroscience conclude then about this question? And I'm going to just paste it again. Ask what, I don't know how to say that name, Nisargadatta would say about time dilation. Does this coincide with what? That's the next question. And I have to wait a second because it will pull me down. Our contemporary neuroscience concludes that the apparent time slowing in high-stress situations is predominantly a function of memory consolidation, retrospective illusion, but acknowledges that a real-time perceptual shift in timing circuits remains a plausible, though unproven, contributing factor. Interesting. So I guess Eagleman, this was only 2007. There was a decent amount of time that people could have come up with something along this alternative view. Many competing models argue that the memory-only conclusion is too reductionist and that a real-time change must occur. Okay. We could double check this. What does contemporary neuroscience say about this question? Oh, I've lost the question now. All right, we've got, this is a fascinating point of intersection between Western neuroscience and Eastern non-duality. The neuroscientific concept of time dilation largely coincides with Maharaj's teachings, but at entirely different levels of reality. The core principle is that time is a construct of the mind, and therefore it must be inherently unstable and illusory. Okay, so I guess these coincide only in like the framing here, the wording, but I think they're talking about two separate things. Would agree that with the outcome of the neuroscientific findings by like that framing, however, would frame the causality differently. Time is a mental construct. In reality, time and space exist in you. You do not exist in them. The mind creates time and space and takes its own creations for reality. Right. I think this point of view is commensurate with the idea that time can retrospectively feel longer than it actually was. And when we say actually was, we mean, I guess, the experience in that moment. Or, you know, I think usually we mean how it felt, how time usually feels, right? How like a certain amount of physical time, we'll just say physical time, assuming that time is like, you know, some physical dimension, like how it usually feels in a certain amount of time, it would feel different. So yeah, the time as we experience it is very much subjective. It's not like we're experiencing it's not like we're all experiencing the same absolute time, even though we understand the physical world to have some absolute time. Just entertaining myself with that prompt. Sorry, no, that's all good. There's enough entertainment to go around for us all. The instability of time. The very fact that time can be dilated or compressed is irrefutable proof, from their perspective, that time is not real, but a transient subjective attribute of consciousness. Right, and it's like it's an attribute of consciousness, just like how Heidegger's existentialia are fundamental characteristics of Dasein. Like it's these are like the most abstract attributes you could think of. It's an attribute about the experience of consciousness itself. All right. Should we learn some stuff in 2026? Wait a second. I don't understand. 10 months ago, why would he put out a video about how to achieve your goals in the following year? He's an Advaita, the school you've heard about already. Nice. Yeah, I don't know if you saw any of the comments on the video I posted, but someone brought up Advaita. I don't know. I don't remember where. It would be tough to find, but someone brought it up and was saying I should look into it. Auto update possibly for the views. What is auto update? Oh, nice. Alex is looking into it too. I believe he talked about it a bit. Yeah, unfortunately, and perhaps I'll make this case more clear in the next video, but I think we can actually make a logical argument as to why why we, in some sense, can't look into it in order to get the answers that we're looking for. Like can't, in the sense that we aren't allowed, like, normatively and deontically, we shouldn't. Like that's kind of the, it's like this is the philosophy of science. It's like what we ought to do based on evidence and not. Like there's a standard, there's a scientific standard. Now, the thing that I need to point out is that things that we experience in our minds are empirical in a very serious sense. And it does obviously show up in all kinds of social sciences. You know, we do actually care about what people think is happening in their own experience. When like in studies all the time. So the question is going to be, it's gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna have to thread a needle where we're pointing out, we're really capitalizing on this idea that our conceptual understanding is something that's affected by our culture and our past and our biology, etc. Stuff that we actually need to talk about soon. I need to do the reading of The Shaping of Experience next in the document. This is a huge chapter as it relates to what we're talking about. This is where we can actually bring out understanding as a concept. And we get to talk about neuroplasticity and learning, motion-driven plasticity. A lot of the stuff I mentioned in the video. But that we can introduce this idea of predisposition that is really, I think, really important to consider. It really forces you to think about this in the way that we're trying to push here, which is that at every moment, our experience is predisposed based on, and we could rattle off a bunch of different perspectives on based on, right? Based on nature and nurture. So based on the current connections in our brain right now, and or based on our mood, based on what we ate this morning, based on who our parents were. You know, you could go at a bunch of different angles of analysis. But the general idea is that right now, given the stimuli and the internal state, the internal stimuli, like we're predisposed to experience what we do at every moment. Obviously, that's quite a deterministic view, but that is what we've committed to here. Like he has an auto updater for the titles with 2025. Oh, I see. Oh, for the views. I see what you're saying. So, yeah, I'm curious. Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm curious when he actually switched it. Maybe a couple months ago. Is it Nagarjuna? Or Nagarjuna? Ali Abdaal is a very accomplished person. He's very academically smart. He was one of the first productivity tubers, saying stuff like make a Notion workspace and install Evernote and make a note. I've become more skeptical of him, to be honest. His solutions aren't my cup of tea. Okay, this will be interesting then. But if it's evidence-based, then it can't possibly be. No, I'm just kidding. Let's give it a go. Is he a fast talker? That's the real question.
Talk about 5 pretty easy evidence-based things you can do to massively increase the chances that you're actually going to achieve your goals. Now, obviously, when it comes to actually setting and achieving goals, generally the thing that separates people who do achieve their goals from the people who don't achieve their goals is the action that they're actually putting into them. But if you look at the science, there are actually these 5 relatively straight...
Wait a second. The action that they're putting into them. Isn't that like pretty self-obvious? I always... not joke about, but I always think about this joke of just having like for part 2, it's like how to achieve your goals. And I just say, just do it. You just got to do it. And I feel like that's pretty similar.
Forward things you can do to stack the deck in your favor. Call them hacks, call them habits. They don't take very long, but they will massively boost your odds of actually achieving the goals. And so if you're already doing all 5 of these things, fantastic, you are winning. And if you're not doing some or any of these 5 things, you've got some very easy wins that you can apply pretty much as soon as you finish watching this video. And by the way, if you're new here, hello, my name is Ali. I'm a doctor turned entrepreneur and author. And since 2017, I've been making videos on this channel, which are all about the books, the ideas, the strategies and tools that can help us live more intentionally, be more productive, and generally build a life that we truly love. I also spent ages researching and writing this book, Feel Good Productivity, which is a New York Times and Sunday Times bestseller. And this dives deep into how we can get stuff done without burning out or sacrificing the things that matter most. And it's
maybe it's just it's not like evidence-based, like it's using evidence. It's like evidence-based, like it's based, And so evidence-based it actually means not using evidence. But it's based though. It's pretty based to just not use evidence. So that's what evidence-based means. So that's where he's fine.
Available in paperback, hardback, Kindle, Audible, basically everywhere books are sold, and has also been translated into All right, so let's start with point number 1. Now here I want to play you this clip from a guy called Jim Rohn. Now Jim Rohn was a multimillionaire success coach guy based in the US, but at age 25 he was completely broke, but he managed to get mentored by this business tycoon guy called Mr. Shoaff. And here he is talking about an interesting encounter with Mr. Shoaff that completely changed his life.
Not long after I met Mr. Shoaff, we're having breakfast one morning. Mr. Shoaff said, Mr. Rohn, now that we've gotten acquainted, we know each other fairly well, he said, maybe one of the best ways I can help you, he said, let me see your current list of goals. Let's go over them and talk about it. And I said, what? I don't have a list. He said, well, Mr. Rohn, if you don't have a list of your goals, he said, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s, which he did. And that got my attention. I said, you mean my bank balance would change if I had a list of goals? He said, drastically. So that day I became a student of setting goals. And I've used it to dynamically affect my life. I've taught it.
All right, I'm a little worried this is going to be an email type of video here.
It's not my business.
Write down your list of goals. I'm curious, do you have a list of goals written down somewhere? Could you bring them up if someone asked you to see them? But you might be thinking, this seems a bit too good to be true. This is just some like personal development guru. It's like, it surely can't be that basic as just writing down your list of goals. Do we have any actual science or research to back this up? And to that, I would like to draw your attention to this study from the Dominican University. And these guys were basically testing, does writing down your goals compared to not writing them down change your chances of achieving said goals? So on the y-axis, we've got average goal achievement, and then we've got 2 groups. One group did not write down their goals, and the other group wrote down their goals. This was the average goal achievement for the group that set goals but did not write them down. And
all right, I mean, like this is like a decent tip, and we are going to be touching on that. Where do we have this? Would it be actually, I think it would be in identifying goals. And yeah, we'd have to talk about like actually just writing them down. So, but it's not necessarily writing them down. It's making them explicit in some way, such that in your mind they're explicit. So that could be writing them down, or that could be talking about them, or that could be, thinking about them or whatever.
This was the average goal and priorities. The brain
look at them every week.
That is irrelevant to those.
So this is also going to be a good tip. One of the main ideas that we're going to try to push in part 2, which we kind of arrive at the end of part 1, is that between the moments that you deliberately reflect on what is the case, whether you are actually pursuing your goals, how you're doing, etc., there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be affecting your attention, your concerns, your moods, etc., and it's going to be affecting your understanding. So affecting how you would even think about that goal if you were to reflect on it in some moment. So the idea is that because our understanding is constantly changing, it does actually require us to periodically reflect on whether or not we are actually pursuing the goals, because we might think later that what we're doing right now isn't actually like working towards our goals. So it is important to, at some cadence, like the question is, should you be doing this every second? Probably not. It would be something like, you'd have to figure out what cadence is best for you for what types of goals. And that's what we're going to have to talk about in the very end section of like the full process. I would really want for Stan to have a conversation with Spengler. It would be a debate of the century. Why are we debating, though? Do we have to debate? How old's Spengler right now? Or is Spengler not alive? I don't know. Oh, he's very dead. All right. Well, where's Spengler AI? I guess I could do that right now, but... I think it'd come to a debate, surely. Yeah, I imagine that any type of discussion with someone that was like around 100 years ago might end up with a debate, because I'm gonna have to try to explain like what's happening inside our body or something like that, and they're gonna think I'm full of it. Let's just say.
Goals and priorities, and helps focus your attention on the stuff that actually matters to you. The classic example of this is, let's say you're buying a car and you're like, man, I really want to get a Fiat 500. All of a sudden, by the fact that you've set the intention to buy potentially a Fiat 500, you will suddenly start.
Let's go to the next one.
I just say kind of on track.
Why don't I just look at these? Monitor your progress. Similar to this. So you know what? Look at them every week is actually kind of counter to what we're saying. And like, unless you were to monitor whether or not they're actually still apt, or like they're still what you want to do, and you know you've considered what is necessary to actually do them, to achieve those. It requires that back and forth. Monitor your progress. Visualize obstacles. Okay. This will be interesting, actually.
You also contrast it with the obstacle.
From a purely philosophical viewpoint, I mean, if he had the knowledge we did. Yeah, that's yeah, I guess that would be the tricky part. If he had the knowledge that we did, and then we had a philosophical viewpoint. Yeah, I mean, perhaps this is just like straight up hubris, but like I feel like provided that science goes in the direction that it's still going, it's going to be pretty hard to argue against neural correlates between our experiences of specific concepts and like underlying activation patterns of activation. And once we get there, now philosophy like really blows up. Like, I mean, I'm like taking the science that we already have, and I'm already jumping in that direction. Like it's, you know, obviously it's still speculative in some sense, but I'm very much committing to this idea that our understanding is an effect of our physical makeup. And when I say our understanding, obviously that's like some abstract term. It's not like, you know, we have like facts that are just like in the brain, as if the brain's like some database of facts. Like we don't quite understand how knowledge is organized in the brain. I mean, obviously we understand how like connections are organized in the brain, but we don't understand how knowledge is organized in the brain, such that our brain is activating in certain ways that brings out the linguistic form that we can obviously subjectively experience. Spengler would probably smile at that thought and then start talking about beginning from ancient Rome or something. Yeah, like the tricky thing though is like this is like it's the ultimate checkmate. Once we find out that our understanding or our experience of truth, what is true, is afforded to us by our affective mechanisms and our linguistic mechanisms, and it's merely a manifestation in our consciousness. Like that blows up, you know, a lot of philosophy. That it really puts a stop to how philosophers in the past have talked about philosophy, and now it's about what ways can we conceptualize our understanding or concepts such that it makes sense of the actual experiences we have of them. So like, you know, now it's connecting conceptualization to phenomenology, which is, you know, what I try to do in part one. It's, there's no right answer, but there's answers that are intuitive and there's answers that aren't intuitive. There's answers that are accessible. There's answers that aren't accessible. So that's the whole idea here. Like, we can't say that we're ever done and we have the right conceptualization, because that conceptualization should always change as we find better ways of articulating it. Kind of a Karl Popper pilled take, Stan. What did Karl Popper say about this stuff? Am I a popper? A popperite? All right, visualizing achieving a future goal and contrasting it with the problems you might face in the process
that you might encounter along the way.
Of achieving it. Okay, this is something we actually haven't done. We have not done this. And what would this be? This would be framing. Oh, this is framing. Oh my gosh, look at this. We should include this though. We don't have something about this. So I might just gank this. Yeah, I'm just going to say visualizing, achieving a future goal and contrasting it with the problems you might face in the process of achieving it. So this is called mental contrasting. So this is something you can do in order to set expectations, essentially. But it's like you're doing a couple things here. You're first making explicit what you might think that you implicitly know about a goal. So like half of this is actually, I should say that half of this, or no, I should say the first part of this is covered in identifying goals, and then the practice of visualizing the achievement, and periodically as well, would be apt in this section. All right. Swaggyams, how do you know so much about all this stuff? Did you study this in school? No, actually, I'm a computer science guy in school. It's really just been the past year and a half. We have been doing what you see me doing right now. It's just a lot of looking up stuff, talking about stuff here. A lot of time, like much of the time, someone brings up something in chat. I don't know anything about it. I have to now put it into ChatGPT, and then we kind of learn from there. It gives me just some context. The ideas that I find really interesting and actually necessary for the stuff that we're doing, then I'll find further material. I'll read stuff. I guess I did come into this having read some stuff. Like I had read some philosophy. I read Being in Time, which kind of gave me the sense that we should probably look into a phenomenology when we're talking about meaning and how we understand the world. So that's kind of what dictated a lot of part one. And then we kind of, I had to learn a lot about the science behind all this, which is what my video was about. That was stuff that I just either read in textbooks or read from ChatGPT. Like the fact that you can ask ChatGPT questions is so huge. Not only does it force you to think, but it also then gives you answers that, of course, might not be 100% correct. That's the thing about LLMs. So you have to like really try to go after this information from a bunch of different angles, use different language models, try to find where this stuff is actually based from, etc. He didn't like Spengler's philosophy nor the abstract stuff very much. Karl Popper is who you think of when you think of the scientific method is everything type of guy. Yeah, it's not like that it's everything. It's just that it's reliable. It's more reliable than speculative interpretation. Now, granted, we make the argument, obviously, in our epilogue that certain facets of wisdom is actually a phenomenal starting place for hypotheses about now what we ought to test via the scientific method. So, like the idea that, let's just say the idea of panpsychism itself, let's just say we get that from Advaita. We could say, hey, like, let's actually now look in this direction, but we do need to find evidence in the science. Like the science logically makes sense of, even like you couldn't just do a study of like, let's survey a bunch of people who have these types of experiences and ask them, does it feel like your consciousness is open? And perhaps that would be actually a really interesting study to see. But then, like, logically, if we found out that these things are affected by the underlying science, or like the underlying neurobiology, then that would still put the entire other study in conflict. I don't know. It would make that less compelling as like an interpretation of what's actually happening. So yeah, I think we still have to wait for some of this science, but it's really going, like, a lot is happening very quickly. AI models are going to allow us to find all kinds of neural correlates in the next 10 years. So it's actually it's going to be really exciting in this channel. I really want to try to find out how to stay on the pulse of this stuff. Like, how do we find out when people make connections between, experienced concepts and parts of the brain? I think that would be really fun to follow. Swaggy Yams, I saw Stan's video challenging Alex O'Connor, watched a couple of his other videos, then headed here. Nice. What will be interesting is when the Marxists get a hold of this, since they're all about the scientific method is everything view, at least their interpretation of it. Yep. Yeah. I guess, the important thing we talk about in integrating the domains of wisdom and science, we do point out that we have to have some sort of perspective when we're leveraging science. Like, it's not just like the scientific method is facts about the world. The scientific method is simply like a pragmatic tool in which we can find things that we ought to be we ought to find reliable. Like, it's almost like a rule set. It's less about like some objective thing about the world. It's more of a rule set about how we ought to think about the world. Like, that's what the scientific method is. That's why in this area the developing authority of method. And yeah, we point out that, like, the rigor of science is this growing rule set or growing set of norms. The period of the European scientific revolution further marked a conscious philosophical unweaving of the empirical from the spiritual. These revolutionary ideas gave voice to a new path to certainty, one grounded not in contested scripture or ancient authority, but in direct experience and universal mathematics. The invention of the printing press then allowed these revolutionary ideas to spread and be debated as never before, while new forms of patronage created space for inquiry outside of traditional institutions. Francis Bacon championed the primacy of empirical evidence, arguing that all knowledge of nature must begin with systematic observation. Galileo proposed that the book of nature was written in the language of mathematics, shifting the goal from interpreting meaning to discovering universal laws. Now, granted, like the views here, like, universal laws here, this is still them thinking that what they're discovering is transcendent. Philosophers like Descartes provided a framework for this by conceptually separating the thinking subjective mind from the mechanical material world, which could now be studied as a predictable machine. The immense power of this new approach came from its deliberate limitation of scope, its exclusive focus on the mechanical, measurable, and material. It's a rule set to find objective, observable, and repeatable facts about the world, I think. Right, but the thing that's like, I mean, the thing that's controversial here about what I'm trying to say is it's a rule set to find what we are allowed to call objective, what we're allowed to call observable, and what we're allowed to call repeatable. Like it's a rule set about like literally the how we ought to think about concepts, even semantically. Like that's what the rule set is about. Like you ought not be able to say that, you know, like the argument is you ought not be able to think that, no, I shouldn't say ought not. You should not be able to think that panpsychism is a plausible perspective given its lack of evidence. And, you know, one of the main arguments that I have to point out is the logical fallacy of, you know, just because empirical science has not led to an answer, that does not mean that it can't lead to an answer, or that any alternative that doesn't have any evidence towards it is more plausible. So it's like a rule set about how we ought to talk about these things. It's not telling us, like, obviously it's not telling us what in some transcendent sense is actually the case, but then also it's not talking about, like, it doesn't tell us that panpsychism is definitely wrong. Like, we shouldn't say it's certainly wrong. Like, that would be inappropriate, actually, according to logic. Like, we're not allowed to say it's wrong because we don't know for sure. So there's like a, you know, there's a very precise rule set about how we ought to be able to talk about, or how we ought to talk about things like this. Perhaps I think I'm going to watch this video on stream again, but Hank Green just put out a video about aliens, and he actually is making this a very similar argument about aliens, so much so that I might even use his videos, like clips from his videos, in the video I want to make, where he's pointing out that because we don't know a lot of this phenomena that we see in the sky and whatnot, it leads to people pointing out that it's not just possibly aliens, but that it is probably aliens. And like, he points out the inappropriateness of jumping to that type of a conclusion, and he points out that science tells us to be a little bit more careful about what we ought to expect. And when I say ought to, I don't mean like we're getting in trouble, but it's just something that we can think about priming ourselves towards. Like, even though we want to make sense of this stuff in a way that feels intuitive, or for the aliens case, in a way that feels exciting, we have to hold back. We have to, you know, we have to chill out for a second. What do you mean by universal mathematics? I mean, I guess I don't mean much about it. Like, I don't believe in universal mathematics, but I think the idea that was, where did I say this? Who did the universal mathematics, universal laws? Oh, in the language of mathematics. Galileo proposed that the book of nature was written in the language of mathematics. I think this was just a take on the fact that the universe has like physical laws, right? Oh, the paragraph above that one. Yeah. So, yeah, I think the idea is very similar. Where, I mean, I think this paragraph is literally jumping from this. So, these are all subsets of what's going on here. So when I say universal mathematics, I'm referring to ideas and thinkers akin to this. So the idea is like the laws of physics. Now, granted, we can have a very nuanced take now where we can say that, hey, our laws of physics are interpretations of things that we're seeing, and they're empirical observations, and like they're predictive as well. Like, and so this is all stuff that this is all stuff that Feynman points out, where I don't know if I write it in here. Maybe finally Feynman frames the entire scientific enterprise as a brilliant but fundamentally uncertain human endeavor. He uses the powerful metaphor of science as an attempt to solve a giant jigsaw puzzle with countless missing pieces. We find common characteristics among the pieces, the conservation laws, for example. That gives us confidence we are on the right track, but we must always stick our necks out and accept that our current picture is incomplete. I guess that's not exactly the same idea, but the idea is that we're putting an interpretive lens when we point out the laws of physics. Like we're conceptualizing these laws. It's not that the physical universe actually has some mathematical structure. It's just that we represent the physical universe as we empirically experience it using mathematics, which is once again, it's like a cultural rule set of how we ought to talk about, like what comes before an equal sign, what ought to come after an equal sign, etc. Yeah, I don't know if that was is mathematics created or discovered? Well, that's almost a question about like ontology, right? It's like so you could say that you could say it's both. And like you could argue it's both. Like I wouldn't say that there's like a right answer. It's, people notice these patterns in the world, and they represented them using symbols, or just using, perhaps even you could say using logical thought, or like rational thought. The consideration that when someone has three things and they lost one, you could rationally think that they have two now. So in some sense it's discovered, and then in some sense, like the actual rules of mathematics as it is like symbolized was something created. Like the rules, the interpretive rule set was created to represent what was discovered. Like that's what you would say. So it's both. But yeah, like that's the tricky thing. Like we only have a representation of the physical world. Like we don't know what the physical world is. Like, and perhaps that's an inappropriate thing to consider, because ontology has to, like, it pertains to subjective experience. That's like the beauty of Heidegger's notion of Dasein. Like it's specifically concerning the type of thing that can actually experience being and even consider it. Like I guess there's kind of an argument in there for that he's making, that like a organism has to be at a certain level of self-consciousness to even consider that. So perhaps conscious but not self-conscious beings aren't considered under the category of Dasein, and Dasein just means like being there. I think that's what Dasein means. So like that's like obviously like a very phenomenological view, that meaning is disclosed to us. And this is like a very, I try to make the connection between that idea and the idea that thoughts arise. So yeah, obviously we have these thoughts about a physical world, and it's like almost it's a property of the physical world that it exists independently of our subjective experience. However, these, like the actual, like any meaning that we can intuit, so like the idea that something is something, like that is fundamentally a subjective experience. I don't know if that answered your question, but I think that's the best I got. All right. Is there anything else to gain here?
That is mental contrasting, and that really seems to boost people's goal attainment. And so this psychologist, Gabriel Oettingen, came up with a fairly simple technique called the WHOOP method, which stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. Now, the wish and the outcome is where you are basically setting the goal. There are all sorts of different ways for goal setting. You can use the GPS system, which is my personal favorite. You can think in terms of...
So WHOOP would fall under like the full process here. Look into the WHOOP method.
of facts, feelings, and functionality. You can think in terms of wish and outcome, like what is the thing that you wish.
Oh no, Stan Richardson versus Slava Zizek debate. I would be nervous about that one. Not only because I would be a little concerned I wouldn't be able to understand what he's saying in real time, which I really should prepare for, but also like he's a very strong debater, or like a strong, I mean, not only is it a strong presence, but he seems pretty confident and disagreeable. And at some point I might just be overwhelmed by that it doesn't even matter what we're talking about. I did also watch that JP versus is it Slavoj, or is it like a Slavok? I don't know how that is pronounced. Slavoj. Oh, okay. Yeah, that debate was pretty odd, if I say so myself. The J in many languages makes the Y sound. It's good to know. Yeah, I felt like there's just been a recurring theme of events that like JP should be more prepared for, and this has just happened over and over again over time. It's not been a good look. I was like, all right, so what are they even talking about? Yeah, I think if anything, I might be able to ground the conversation. I think if I have any skill, it might not be in specific expertise of, any one topic, but it might be the ability to ground, like in a very meta, pragmatic, linguistic way, to ground what we're trying to talk about. So maybe that would make it productive. We should do a clip farming run. What's a clip farming run? So we're farming clips. So I say stuff. Am I trying to be provocative? Is that how it works? I be as provocative as possible, and I yeah. What would be our angle? Targeting the views. Alain de Botton. Oh, I wanted to point out that so many people keep talking about Kastrup, that we have to have a Kastrup day. So Monday I don't know what videos we should be watching from him, but I think we'll first start with ChatGPT, and I'll just go down a whole thing, and then we'll find a video so that I could get a sense of how he discusses these things. I don't know what I know we've covered it multiple times, but I probably don't understand at a high enough level what this type of thing he covers. Also, I think I'll be able to stream tomorrow. I'll probably stream tomorrow, and then I probably won't stream Sunday. And tomorrow won't be later. It'll probably be earlier in the day. And then we got a full week. We got the Strange Order. I think we got to just read through some of the Strange Order things. It's just too cool. Part 2 development. That's really exciting now that we have like an outline. Consciousness vid 2 prep. I'll try to prepare stuff for this. The thing that's really assuring about the success of that video, and granted it's not like a ton of success, but it's a lot more success than I expected. So that's a point. Is that the video topic isn't even that important. Like, I mean, it's obviously people find that topic to be very significant, right? But I'm trying to point out that it's not important for our ability to take hold of our lives and, you know, achieve the types of things that our document's trying to achieve. And I think those topics are going to even be more compelling because we will put the same amount of rigor into those topics as we did into this one, or into this one. But yeah, I think things get really fun when we touch on other practical and also controversial topics. Say something bombastic about a very trivial matter. I do think that a good play, like a good recurring thing we should do, is find effective hooks, such as, you know, challenging Alex, and then literally just make it an educational video. Like that was the goal. It was like, this video is really not about me challenging Alex. That's not really that important. But what's important is this thing that I'm trying to explore and teach. So if we can do that, then we get best of both worlds. And I think the one thing that we just need to make sure remains the same is the quality of the content in the video, which I think we can do. I think we can actually maintain that. So that's the goal. Yeah.
For and what is the outcome that would happen as a result of you achieving that goal. But then the key bit of the Whoop method is that,
all right, so we got Whoop,
called VoicePal to make writing more fun, them to an identity. Now,
what was the last one?
Really easy strategy. You can just spend literally 3 minutes thinking to yourself, okay, cool.
Tie them to an identity.
What are the obstacles that are getting in my way? What's my plan for overcoming those obstacles? And again, according to the research, this will drastically improve your odds of actually achieving the goal. And then finally, we come to fairly easy strategy number 5, and that is to tie them to an identity. Now, the classic example of this is that there was a study where they looked at voting. So for some of the people in the study, they asked, will you vote in this election? And for the other half, they asked, will you be a voter in this election? And they found that the people who were asked the question of, will you be a voter, were way more likely to vote than the people who were simply asked, will you vote? Will you vote is an action. Will you be a voter is an identity.
Aha. This is pretty interesting, actually. This is also framing. So we could write this down. Look for evidence on tying goals to an identity. For example, will I vote in this election versus will I be a voter in this election? I should say I will vote. So it's, yeah, we're not looking for will I achieve this goal, it's will I be the person that achieves this goal, or like will I be an achiever of this goal. So we'll have to figure out where this actually falls in, but there's probably a study that says the exact opposite, trying to goals to an identity. It's basically just saying fake it till you make it. Yes, I think that's what we want to do. We have to look into the fake it till you make it research, the wisdom of the boomers. Yeah, it can't be like, it has to be at a certain scope. Like, you can't manifest huge goals, but you can manifest very small goals. Like, but that, you know, the question is how much of that is just like overcoming will. So this is why, you know, we have to do a lot of the more foundational stuff first. So we have to look into what actually affects attention, focus, motivation, etc. And then if stuff later on contradicts what we find earlier, then we have to like consider, okay, why might that be the case? All right.
To vote than the people who write a book, any of this sort of stuff. But when I lent into that identity of being...
Let us bounce. Okay, this is more exciting. We got our boy Kaplan. Is it Kaplan or is it Kaplan? Wait, this is funny. The old boomer, I'd probably be a good pilot and then go get a pilot's license. Do you think you could land an airplane? Oh, man. The podcast that I listened to, PKA, where they were just talking about this. Apparently, like a vast majority of men think they could land an airplane when like only 3% of people can. So I would say probably not, knowing that stat. I could probably do it if I got on the radio controls with the tower. Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's take, where it's like if someone could talk me through, then maybe. But I'm concerned that there's instruction that is too like experience based that I wouldn't be able to do it. Like if they started telling you how you're supposed to guide the actual thing you're steering, like they could try to be descriptive about it, but it might be very difficult to do that. I'm curious if they have like specific instructions already ready to go for this situation when like a non-pilot needs to fly a plane. They should. I imagine they do. But that type of thing might be a difficulty. Like obviously they could tell you what buttons to press, etc. But if it's something very specific that is hard to convey with words, that would be the concern. I just like pull up the brakes and then do a drift on the runway. We'll flick the seatbelts on light so the passengers don't lose it when I'm mad skating on the runway. I then slowly descend and pull up so I got the wind on finesse. Easy. Yeah, I want like, should I just try to land in water? Like, is that the best way to go about this? Like, I feel like it's also difficult to land in water, but maybe it's easier to crash land in water, or like it's less likely to kill us all. But then again, I think that guy who landed on the Hudson, like he did like a very, very difficult move. So probably not. Maybe it wouldn't be effective. But if we don't try to land it, we're not landing at all. True. If we just never landed, then the problem goes away. We just stay up there forever. Yeah, I mean, I would certainly try to land it. All right, what do we got here?
On November 4th, 2010, at 9:57 a.m., an Airbus A380, the largest commercial jet ever built.
Wait, did you know this was coming up? Was this on purpose? It's like a vacuum vortex in the air. LOL, no. Literally the first line he says is about a jet. I played Flight Simulator. I could def land it. I think you've got the edge. You've got the edge on us all. Yeah, like how involved is the Flight Simulator? Like, do you have to literally press a button to let down the wheels and all? Limitary, where'd the 3% stat come from? I mean, I don't trust any stats I get from this podcast. Like they literally joke about how their stats are not real, not reliable. So I don't take much from that. But it's probably a decently low stat. like I would intuit that. I would speculate that it's somewhat low. I trust Swaggy. Yep. If Swaggy's on the plane with us, Swaggy, you're getting this job. Onion, I'm sorry, but I can't let you do this while Swaggy's got the experience. I don't think I'd have much of a choice, but yeah. It's not super involved. There's no chance I'd actually know how to land a plane. Oh, okay. Never mind. Maybe we're still doomed. Imagine you're in the cockpit with Swaggy because you think he plays Flight Sim and he hits you with that line. All right. We have to go down this. Realistically, how many people could possibly land a flight if they needed to? I mean, it's going to ask probably like what type of plane perhaps, or I mean, that's something to consider. I don't know if it's going to ask a question because ChatGPT never really just asks questions like that, but I feel like nowadays most planes can land themselves. Yeah, that's why I would hope like you could just press a button and then have it do something automatic. But I know that like takeoffs and landings are the most dangerous parts of being on a plane. So I imagine there is still some, I don't know, something that the pilots have to do, or at least make sure doesn't happen. That's the idea with the radio tower thing. You just need to put in the correct ILS frequency. For an airliner, vanishingly few. For a small plane, a non-zero but still small minority. Here's a realistic breakdown, assuming an average adult with no flight training. All right, the next question has to be, how about an average adult with flight simulator training? And I have to say Microsoft because actual flight simulators are obviously more involved. I watched an actual video about this. If you could get on with the radio tower, it'd be a few buttons here and there, and it'd be auto. All right. Oh, that's not what I meant to do, but we can go back to it. And then the next question would be, and then how much do our chances increase if we can talk to the radio tower? So big commercial flights, no special automation, just ATC pilot coaching on the radio. Oh, so it's already factoring this in. That's not good. It's not good for us if it's already factoring in the radio. The chance of a random passenger getting a transport category jet safely lined up, configured, flared, and stopped on a runway is close to 0. Well under 1%. That's worse than the 3. Probably orders of magnitude lower. Modern jets can auto land, but it's not a one-button feature. Someone has to set up the approach, configure the airplane, manage speed, flaps, gear, and monitor systems. That's skilled work under stress. Best case jet scenario. So we're on an airline, right? Like we're not talking about this jet. We're talking we've got the airline. We have to be a hero. Wow, a few in 1,000. Small general aviation plane. Single-digit percentages. Special automation that actually is one button. Garmin Autoland in a few high-end GA aircraft, not airliners. Press a guarded button and the aircraft flies itself to a runway and lands. In those airplanes, the success rate is near 100% for anyone able to press the button. But this doesn't apply to airline fleets. If you have the fuel, that is. It's hallucinating. First comment. 90% of bad landings start shortly after turning base. Power setting, flaps, rate of descent, height when turning final. Then maintain airspeed, glide, angle, and center line. Only being vigilant controlling these parameters allows for a good landing. Oh, that's not good. That is not good. Oh. Are you doing it by best? Oh, probably not. What was the, oh, read the post. Oh. I'm a student pilot and recently have been struggling on my landings. I'm either pulling back pressure early and ballooning resulting in a long and awkward landing, or pulling late and breaking. That float feeling and breaking that float feeling too. Problem is, the guy didn't use a single comma, or I should say the person didn't use a single comma. Now I don't know when and where commas should be. Or pulling late and breaking that float feeling too early and touching ground too rough. Any visual or mental cues to help with my future landings? I used to have great floating landings, but recently I've been in a slump and just have shit the bed lately. All right. By Best. Was it the one I just saw? Oh, I thought, how urgent is this question? Oh, like literally, like they're on the, we're not using radio. We're just straight up going on Reddit. I mean, I think it would even be better to use ChatGPT at that point. That you know what? We should probably do that. This is gonna be our next. I am on an airliner, and we just lost the pilots. Can you walk me through landing this plane? All right, let's not spoil that one. Okay, so special automation. Why the numbers are so low for jets? You need to manage speed, configuration, energy, flight director, autopilot modes, navigation setup. Yikes. If we're talking about the flight you and I are most likely to be on, a standard commercial airliner, the fraction of untrained passengers who could land it without professional help in the cockpit is effectively 0%. Oh no. With optimal remote coaching and luck, maybe a few per thousand. Yikes. How about an average adult with Microsoft's flight simulator training? Helps a lot with familiarity, but it doesn't turn most people into safe one-shot pilots, especially not for airliners. It bumps the odds from nearly zero to still low, but not negligible. It's important. That's significant. Oh my gosh, this is great. All right, how much time? How much time do we have here? Swaggy Yams, how much time we got on Microsoft Simulator? That's it matters. Less than 10 hours or 30 to 100? I guess that doesn't really. Oh no, this is. Yeah, well, this isn't comprehensive. We just lost the pilots. Probably 15 hours. All right, so it's a little bit in between. But we're on what? Airliner. Okay. So we're up to about, I'll just say 2. We're up to 2% chance. These are order of magnitude ranges for a first attempt, not train check ride standards. Success equals touchdown on the runway and stopping without injury or major damage. Okay. Biggest determinants of success: hardware realism, yoke plus rudder pedals plus throttle quadrant onto the gamepad / keyboard. Pedals especially matter. Oh, this is a double grader. This is much better. So chances are you're using gamepad and keyboard, but if you were to have this whole setup, then that would be significant for our chances. Pedals especially matter for keeping it straight in the flare / rollout. Recency and specificity of practice. Dozens of recent pattern circuits in the same aircraft model at normal weights / speeds. I imagine you're playing this for fun, but probably 15 hours. Okay, please say 1,000. This is fake news. You got it. I mean, that's definitely what we're going to be telling you while we're up there. I like those odds. Thank you, Dom. I'm going to send with the Advaita thing you were talking about. And we land the plane. Yeah, we're all going to be in the back trying to meditate through this terrible experience while you can experience the stress of of being responsible. All right, here we go. We just lost the pilots. Stay calm. I'll guide you through this step by step. First, confirm the situation. Are you in the cockpit? We are in the cockpit. Is the airplane a large passenger jet? It is a large passenger jet. Are you in radio contact? We are in radio contact. Do you see autopilot engaged on the control panel? Do we see autopilot engaged? I don't know. If you can, press the microphone button on the control yoke or side panel and say clearly, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. The pilots are incapacitated. I am a passenger trying to help land the aircraft. Air traffic control will immediately begin giving you instructions and connect you to another pilot on the radio who can talk you through this. OpenAI data centers. Oh no. We need immediate and comprehensive assistance based on where I think this flight based on the line on which I think this flight was going. I think we're headed straight for the OpenAI data centers. And then I'm gonna actually put a semicolon here so that it knows that I'm actually tying this the urgency to this. Tell it we're in there 4 guys. Okay, yeah, wait, this should be up top. There's 4 of us. Should we let one person take the reins? Is it that? Is it reins like that? Or should we all collaborate? What else we got? All the boomers and men just standing in the cockpit talking over each other. It's probably how it goes. Yeah, it's like an escape room. Everyone's trying different things. All right. Imagine editing this video and putting it up right after the video we had on consciousness. People are gonna be like, "What is this channel? Like what is that? What is actually happening here? How much of this stuff is useful that we go over?" All right, I'm gonna say that I cannot tell whether autopilot is engaged. So we got that. While waiting for the ATC response, keep the airplane steady. Do not move the yoke unless necessary. If autopilot is engaged, leave it on. Check altitude and airspeed on the main screen in front of you. I think we could do that, right? Like, this is something we could probably see pretty clearly. We would identify what type of gauge is giving us altitude and which is giving us airspeed. Say aloud what you see so I can help interpret it. Say aloud. This would have also actually been pretty fun if we did the voice mode, but I don't know if... Yeah, I guess we can't do voice mode anymore. A stream highlights vid every once in a while would be goated. That's what I tried doing with the penguin video. That I cannot instead of I can't. We ain't gotta worry about anything. Taking our sweet time. Yeah. So all right. In this hypothetical situation, how about this? One of us, you all can choose who, has the superpower of the ability to freeze time. So obviously that doesn't get us out of this situation. but we're allowed to freeze time. We can use ChatGPT while the time's frozen. We're currently frozen in time. We do have all the time in the world, but regardless of how much time we spend, we're still hitting that ground. So the nature of consciousness and how to land a plane, two of the most important topics in our modern day. Absolutely. I feel like this plane question has become like the how often do men think about Rome? Like it's become that type of meme. Ask it how to talk to the passengers because we want to. All right. Jesus, what's going on? All right. Also, how should we talk to the passengers? One of the guys who's are you taking that bullet on your helmet? Is this going to be you in the role play here? One of us fainted after learning we were half lying. Oh, time is an illusion anyway. Nice. One of the boomers. Oh, we're the main characters. Okay. All right. I'll give it the just for some context. I don't know if this is going to make the language model know that we're joking now. Just for some context, one of us is a superhero and can, with the power of freezing time, that doesn't get us out of this. Actually, you know what? If one of us could freeze time, then we probably could learn a lot. But that might be a fun way to go down. That might be a fun road to go down. That doesn't get us. This doesn't get us out of this predicament. But we do have plenty of time while time is frozen. All right. Was there anything else? Oh, we should probably just go through more of the stuff there. It said, locate the radio panel. Ensure the frequency field is active. If you can't reach ATC, turn the frequency knob. That's the international emergency frequency. Okay, so we are in radio contact. We set the frequency to 121.5. If you hear instructions from ATC, repeat back everything they say. This helps confirm. So I'm not going to be able to get. Should we actually play this out? All right, can you help us play this out? I'm gonna say help us play this. Help us role play this out. We will need responses from all of the we need you to provide any visual data that we're experiencing. No, let's just say any stimuli that we're experiencing, whether that is radio responses or gauge readings. All right, so unfortunately we have to tell the language model that we're not actually crashing the plane, but we do get more out of it now. Okay, if no response, keep wings level. The horizon line on the main screen should stay flat. We could probably do that. That's pretty easy. Throttle levers, big lever, big letters between the seats. Keep them steady. Don't pull them all the way back. If the plane starts climbing, gently pull the levers back a little. If descending too fast, gently push them forward. If you see a heading knob, don't turn it yet. Keep the plane straight. Okay. Please tell. So yeah, all of these questions we need it to tell us what the answers to all these questions are. Once I have that, I can walk you through setting up for approach and landing. Also, I don't know how long we want to actually spend on this. I'm sure this could actually take a while. Flight attendants, clean up on aisle 1. Clean up on aisle 1, chop, chop. We got to land the plane. It's going to think I'm manic. Well, it should think that already. We are in the cockpit. All right, what do we have? I can't believe it's taken this much time when we need to be landing the plane. Unless it's already interpreted that we have all the time in the world. The key to a good landing is a good approach, especially as a fresh student learning to land. If you come in and give yourself nothing to work with, you should just go around. Oh, I see. So yeah, I guess once you turn in, if you're not already set, then you just try again. Students tend to overload easily, and being stable eliminates a lot of additional tasks or inputs you would have to do if you needed to fix a bad approach. All right, what do we got? Alex O'Connor and Richard Dawkins start praying in their seats. Oh my gosh, they're in the plane too? Because the Richardson Rousers are in charge of landing a massive airliner. Ooh, I don't know. Do you think that, I feel like, I don't know. Do you think Alex O'Connor or Richard Dawkins has any flight experience? Should we be letting them try to land the plane? I'm not going to lie. I think that if it's us against them in an escape room, I think they would cook us. No, they got to sit down. Oh, man. All right, I think it's not going to load. So let me make sure that we have this saved here. Let us make sure we have this written down. I'm going to just reload. Okay. Is that going to work? I think if this doesn't work, then maybe like ChatGPT is just down, which is a bummer because that blows some steam. Oh, we got thinking. I think we're in. Since they got destroyed in the panpsychism debate. Oh no. Well, you know, I shouldn't say the debate's over. You know, it's one thing to give a response, and another thing to have the full conversation or wait for another response. Dawkins too, even though he wasn't involved. All right, here we go. Thank you. You're doing the right thing by asking for clear steps. I'll be direct and practical. I won't help you craft a false announcement to passengers. Don't claim credentials you don't have. I will give a calm, truthful announcement you can read, assign roles for the 4 of you, walk you through checks you can do right now, provide scripts to use, and since you asked, I'll simulate likely radio responses and simple gauge readings so you have something to react to. Top priorities. Do these now in order. Stay calm and speak slowly. One person gives commands, others execute and check. Okay, so it's telling us we should all stay in the cockpit. I think it's saying that we should do this with teamwork. Steroids and diss track. It called me out. I feel like there's a little bit of game theory at play. Like, I don't think we should tell them what is actually happening, because that might stir panic and that might actually bode poorly for us long term. Like maybe, you know, someone thinks, you know what we really should do is we should ask if anyone knows how to fly a plane. ChatGPT wants us to land the plane with the power of friendship. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we probably should. We should just ask. All right, let's see if we can role play that one out. Stay calm and speak slowly. One person gives commands, others execute and check. Keep the airline stable, or airplane stable. Do not make abrupt controlled movements. Keep radio on 121.5 and say Mayday repeatedly until the ATC responds, then follow their instructions. Be honest with passengers. Do not claim false qualifications. Roles for the four of you. Assign these immediately and loudly so everyone knows who does what. All right, we have to assign these. Who's pilot flying? The single person who will hold the yoke, side stick, and fly the airplane if needed. Perhaps this should be you, Swaggy Yams, since you have the flight simulator experience. Pilot monitoring sits next to the PF, talks to ATC, reads and calls checklists, monitors instruments and autopilot status. So then someone's working the systems and the throttles, handles thrust levers, flaps, gear, and the center pedestal, radio frequency, knobs, transponder, also watches engine instruments. And then we've got the cabin/passenger and documentation. So this is the person who's making the PA announcement. The truthful script below. Keeps passenger cabin calm, finds printed emergency checklist if present, and documents ATC instructions. All right, who wants what? Systems and throttles is Dom, since he plays instruments. That's something, yeah? True. All right. So we got Dom on systems throttles. We've got Swaggy on pilot flying. Onion Helmet, you might as well take the the announcement, the PA announcement. So this is kind of up to you whether or not you want to actually follow with this. And then I guess I'll do pilot monitoring. Why one pilot flying? Okay, it's much safer for one person to be the primary control input while the others provide structured support and cross checks. All right, immediate cockpit checks. Do these now. This might just take way too long. I don't know if this is this is something that is worth playing out to its end. All right, so we got autopilot status. If you see AP lit, leave it on unless instructed otherwise. Leave the airplane stable while PM talks to the ATC. Altitude, airspeed, heading. Read these out loud and write them down. If you can't read them, tell me what the big numbers are and I'll interpret. Transponder, if the transponder has a dedicated panel, PM should set it to 7,700. Okay, seatbelts and cabin. So the cabin/passenger person, ensure PA is ready. Have cabin crew, if present, secure passengers and tell them to remain seated with seatbelts fastened. And then checklist, look for emergency abnormal checklist in the cockpit binder. Usually near the center console. Read items aloud and do exactly what they say. So this is how to interact with the ATC or with ATC. And this was the emergency people, right? Right, the Mayday, current reading, current heading. If ATC asks for runway or approach, repeat the exact heading, altitude they give, turn left. Okay. So, yeah, honestly, I think we could do this. I think that if we could freeze time, we just follow these instructions to a T. And I think, provided we do have fuel, we could keep turning the plane around and trying over and over again until we get the right readings, until they tell us, okay, this is good. Like, you have a good setup here. You're barely halfway. I feel like if we had Flight Sim booted up, we'd understand a bit more. Yeah, true. All right, what the pilot flying should do, high level, no risky button pressing. And then all right, let's just skip past to the what to say to passengers, truthful calming script.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the flight deck. There has been a medical emergency involving the flight crew. We are receiving priority assistance from air traffic control. Oh, that's what ATC. And are working with trained professionals on the ground to land the aircraft safely. Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened, keep aisles clear, and follow the instructions of the cabin crew. Okay, so this is kind of insinuating that we're fine, even though we're really not fine. We will update you as soon as you can. Thank you for your cooperation. So, I feel like we should ask if there's someone flying, or if someone can fly. Everything is under control. We have Swaggy, 15 hours flight sizes, flight sim, flying the plane, and Dom, 1,500 hours on guitar pedals. I am not saying that. The thing on screen, that is. Fair enough, fair enough. Sample simulated ATC exchange. All right, how can we do this in a way that kind of speeds things up? Okay, just to speed things up. This is what happened. Everyone did what you mentioned, and all the readings were as you suggested. Except, you know what? This isn't right. Almost everyone did what you. Okay. Our PA was it? What was it? The flight. Our passenger representative said the following. Can I add that you asked for for anyone to fly the plane? Going to jail after we land the plane, or getting pardoned and a medal, perhaps. Yeah, I think it really matters if we land the plane. Is there anyone on board who can fly a plane? That's just insane. That would really freak people out. Not because we need it. Just curious. Let a flight attendant know. If not, just something to talk about to pass the time. All right, what else do we have? So yeah, we did all the things, right? Yeah, simulated instrument readings you might see. So I said that right, all the readings. Readings, not readers. If you have lots of time, your superhero freezing time note. You said you have plenty of time while time is frozen. I'll treat that as fictional. In the real world, do not rely on fantasy, only real clock time and fuel matter. Okay, I don't know what to do about that. What I will not do, I will not instruct you to perform specific manufacturer, autopilot, programming, or emergency procedures step by step that require certification without knowing the exact aircraft type and verifying with ATC pilot on the radio. I will not help you craft a deceptive announcement. Okay. All right. So you're sorry the adrenaline is making you delirious and making you think you have special powers. I mean, in theory, like, how much time has actually transpired since we started this convo? Like, we'd already be done, right? I guess we could just kind of stay in the air, but at this point, we would probably have long gone astray somewhere. Yo, Daniel N, what's good? Daniel N, the situation that we're dealing with right now is that we are on a plane. Unfortunately, the pilots did not make it, and we are now trying to land the plane. One of us, perhaps this is, we didn't decide who has the superpowers, but one of us has superpowers that allows us to freeze time, and we are trying to figure out if we can land this plane. Oh, and it's headed right for the OpenAI data centers. All right, that PA script probably lightened the mood, but for realism, you should keep the cabin language calm and concise, not jokey. All right, I'm trying to conduct some roleplay here. I should just say chill out. I'm just trying to conduct some roleplay here. The announcement was already made. Okay. So we said all this stuff, right? Okay, so we saw all these visual cues. 31,000 feet, right? The transmission, this is center. We have you on radar, altitude 310. Confirm you have control and autopilot engaged. We're coordinating a divert to the nearest suitable field. What is divert noun? Oh, no. Okay. I guess a reroute. To the nearest suitable field, likely Denver International. Denver? Oh, so we're in Denver. Okay. Expect descent in 2 minutes. Are you ready to copy vectors? Yikes. Center Flight X ready to copy vectors. Turn. Okay, so then they say return right heading 120, descend and maintain 10,000 feet, reduce speed to 250 knots. Expect ILS runway. Report when leaving flight level 310. All right. I feel like this is also already stuff that we would not understand, but simulated follow-up. Flight X decent, looks good. Expect vectors, blah, blah, blah. I'll have an airline pilot join frequency shortly. Okay. Next educational step for roleplay. When you tell me the airplane type, okay, you choose the airplane type. Whether you'd like me to keep generating cockpit instrument readings and okay, and keep this roleplay fairly streamlined. We don't have all day. Okay, there we go. We don't need criticism. Lighten the mood? I don't think it would have lightened the mood. I think we'd have screaming and chaos out there. So I'm hoping that it like helps out with the response of anyone actually who has that experience. I love asking ChatGPT questions from other personas. We don't need criticism yet. When we inevitably get the plane back in control, can we open the hatches and carpet bomb the AI data centers? Oh my gosh. That's pretty drastic. Also, there's no telling it that the specific AI that we are dealing with is the ones that we're carpet bombing. We're going to crash with these constructions. I tried to convince ChatGPT I was a rogue AI once that had gained sentience. Didn't really work. That would be pretty fun. Yeah, at some point we should play around with the voice mode as well. I think that would be pretty cool. Because I could talk and then I could always mute it. I don't know why I enunciated that. I could always mute it, and then we could talk, and then we could come up with something to say. All right, streamlined roleplay mode engaged. We'll use a Boeing 737-800 since it's one of the most common passenger jets. You're in the cockpit. Everyone's calm after the slightly unconventional announcement. Did anyone tell a flight attendant that they are a pilot? I'm curious if ChatGPT is going to ruin our roleplay by creating an actual pilot in the passengers. Perhaps if there's an actual pilot, we tell him that we don't believe him and then we don't let him in. I don't know. Situation snapshot. Okay, all these things. Radio crackles. We've got your situation under control. You're still level at 310. Let's start down now. So I guess we're just perfectly straight in this scenario. We're like ready to go. Actually, no, never mind. Turn right heading 120. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. What is 10? Is that 10,000? Reduce speed to 250 knots. We're not going to know how to do any of this. Cockpit actions. Smooth and coordinated. Swaggy. Turning right, heading 120, descending to 10,000. Dom systems eases throttles back a touch. So we're doing this. I guess we're pros now. That pilot's name, Albert Einstein. Feet in the altitude selector. Okay. Autopilot, nose lowers gently. Okay. Cabin gets a mild sensation of descent. Instruments now. So I think this is actually just kind of talking us. It's telling us, it's pretty much just saying that we're doing the thing. 10 minutes later, condensed. Is this going to land the plane for us right now? Maybe I've given it too much. Is reduced speed to 250 knots. Yeah. Yep. Gear down. Final 30 seconds. Okay. It literally just... All right. That was a nice... I don't know. I don't know if we should we should really just go back and do it again. Kind of ruined the fun, but I'll still just send this. See if, since it already landed the plane. Okay, there it is. The FAA relayed it to you and has them standing by near the forward galley to help with radio's checklist if you want them up to the jump seat. I guess we didn't land the plane at this point. I don't know. Yeah, the AI Dungeon RP. I'd have to imagine that is worse than current ChatGPT. Like, that was so long ago. Yeah. What do you understand AIDungeon.com? Wasn't it like AI Dungeon 2 or was it the first one? I think they did a massive upgrade. Oh, they did massive upgrades. Yeah, I imagine they're using like actual LLMs now. Can you take that role for some RP? I can absolutely take on that kind of role for text-based roleplay, acting as the game engine, narrator, and characters, provided we keep it within safe and appropriate bounds. Okay. To tailor it correctly, can you tell me a bit more about the RP? All right. Let's imagine that we are still right at the point before we made that announcement. all the readings are the same, and we've established roles. Can you give me a comprehensive summary of what is going on so that I can export it into another ChatGPT instance? Oops. I want to say they added multiplayer too. Oh, that's cool. I think you can feed AI Dungeon and Airplane Scenario now too as well. Oh, that is really cool. Yeah, I'm curious if AI Dungeon would still do a much better job than this would do now, but I guess we'll see. Before the announcement, okay. Is it going to include that we have the superpower? It's, oh man, it did. I don't think it did. All right, here we go. Understood completely. This is a pre-announcement synchronization phase, and yeah, I don't even know if this is gonna be fun. Like, what would this actually involve? Would you like me to continue the simulation from this moment forward? Yes, let's start the simulation from this moment. I could run it as a live procedural simulation, step-by-step in real-time coordination style, like a flight ops loop. Oh yeah, actually, how would this work? Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be actually enjoyable since it's just so involved. At some point, though, I think it would be fun to do a AI Dungeon type roleplay setup. Yeah, actually, should we just check out AI Dungeon? Would it be here? Game you direct. Okay, we could get the app. That might be cool. While the AI brings it to life. Play online free. Do we have to get an account? Okay. All right. Yeah, I think this would be fun to just try to find one of these and do it on stream. Might be a fun activity. No idea what's locked behind premium. Yeah, you know what? It might be like the model. Okay, what's going on here? Readable, playable, popular all time, filters. Starts with story, character creator, multiple choice, show only following. Yeah, like what would be the best? Hopefully it's like something simple. Like I don't know if we need a multiverse. Like these are some in-depth things. Huh. What the worst could be delivered to you by a mistake? That might be good. A lot of Star Trek. The make your own stuff isn't premium locked. Oh, I guess yeah. Was there start your first adventure. Yeah, is this like a create your own? Ah, okay. Custom. Yeah. Enter a prompt that describes who you are and the first couple sentences of where you start out. It's recommended that you switch to story mode to avoid unintended changes to your prompt. Oh, there's a difference between story mode, plot. Okay. Yeah, we should come up with something for this, and then and write it out. Like, and we should probably use ChatGPT to help us out here. Yeah, so okay, this is what I'm wondering. Is it gameplay? Story generator. Dynamic small rotates between small models for variety. Okay, so these are models. We got muse, emotional depth, challenging adventures with consequences, madness, dynamic large, harbinger. Okay. Oh, these are all premium. Yeah, what are the underlying like models though? I guess dynamic small is probably the best one here. Speed boost. Sets the maximum number of tokens that can be sent to the AI model. 2000. Uh-oh. Memory bank dynamically stores and retrieves key information from your adventure in order to improve the AI's ability to recall important story details. Yeah, this is where, like, I imagine using ChatGPT or Gemini would have a significant advantage. Unless we pay, I imagine then we get a much larger context window. AI settings are sensitive. Each model's... Oh, this is where we actually get to change the... Oh, I see. Safety. Ah, nice. Image generator. Oh, nice. Wow. Oh, we could even get Flux. Oh, but these are like what? Yeah, I guess I can't use any of like OpenAI's stuff. This is all open source. A lot has happened since I tried it. It looks huge. Yeah. Yeah, this is a lot of stuff going. Yeah, I remember like way back when it was just like you get the prompt right off the bat and then you just go. But this is pretty cool. Oh, and you could add plot components. Author's note, third person. Yeah, this is really, really cool. Story cards, details. Oh, tags. I don't know if this stuff affects. Oh yeah, this probably doesn't affect the story. Maybe this is just for when you post it. Visibility. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I don't think we should do this now. I also might head off soon. So I can catch some Z's. All right, this was a good bit though. I enjoyed the landing the flight bit. How did that start? It was right when we started watching this video, right before that onion helmet you asked about landing the plane.
On November 4th, 2010, at 9:57 a.m., an Airbus A380, the largest commercial jet ever built, packed with 440 passengers, lifted off from Changi Airport and rose into the warm sky above Singapore. 4 minutes later, Captain Richard de Crespigny was about to turn off the seatbelt signs when, boom, an explosion. What was that?
What?
Boom. A second explosion.
How is this such a coincidental story? How did the Alex video go? I started to watch it. It went really well. We got a really good. Oh, are we at 5K?
Into our awareness.
4.9, 4.8. Nice. We're doing pretty well. This is a lot better feedback than I thought. So, it was definitely a successful experiment.
And it probably necessitates another video. So I'll probably do another follow-up video where we like literally push what I know to the very edge, or like not what I know because I need to learn stuff to make this video. Let's try to actually get to the very edge of where contemporary science puts us in the consciousness discussion. Because really this video is just kind of offering an alternative, as I say. And it also, like, the real crux of this is pointing out that pragmatically, perhaps we should consider going in the direction of, neural correlates as it tells us so much about our experience, our conceptual understanding, etc. And then I also make this like pragmatic prescriptive argument about science, which I can make more clear in the next video. I made a comment about the boomers and their confidence in landing a plane, adding I could probably land a plane, and then saying they'd go and get a pilot's license from the fake it till you make it philosophy. Nice. It's all about the engagement. Nice, well done. Thank you very much. I swear I didn't know about the start of this video. I've never seen it. I didn't know about the start of this video. Oh. Yeah. Did Alex say he's panpsychist now? No, he really didn't. He just said he was kind of flirting with the idea.
I mean, I think the most plausible account of consciousness implies that consciousness is something which is sort of received by the biological organism rather than produced by it. Because I agree with you that you can't just put a bunch of molecules together and get consciousness. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
So yeah, it's really like, I mean, I guess you could say it's a straw man, but on one hand, what he just said there was actually enough to create this counter argument. It doesn't just suggest that he is he's like flirting with a panpsychist view. It's that he really just didn't have the understanding of the alternative view. That said, you could still make the case that there is still that gap, and that's what he was referring to. So you know what, I could still steel man that position. But then actually, I guess to be more clear about what he believes.
Not something that emerges only in complex brains.
There's a view that I'm quite attracted to in the philosophy of mind called panpsychism.
Yeah, so I think it's just that he's strongly considering it. So I kind of make this pragmatic argument that because of the disparity of evidence, that it's perhaps more appropriate to go in the other direction, at least in terms of not what is definitely true, but where we might be able to find something that makes sense that we could believe to be true. So composition fallacy. I'm not sure. What is the composition fallacy? Oh man, fall. Composition fall is a logical error where one assumes that what is true of the parts of something must also be true of the whole. I'd have to think where to map that on. I think the only fallacy that he might have made is it the ignorance fallacy? The belief that a claim is true because it has not been proven false, or is false because it has not been proven true. So this is the side that points out that this is the real fallacy. Empirical science has not shown us enough about the correlations between the brain and consciousness to believe for sure that the brain produces consciousness, or that consciousness emerges from the brain. But that's not, it wouldn't be logically right to then say that it can't do that. in fact, because so much evidence has come out that shows how not only our so much of our conscious experience is correlated to the brain, but so much of how we understand that conscious experience is related to the brain. It points out that there's a lot of momentum in this field, that we probably will be able to find out so much more that gives us so much more context to this discussion going into the future. So that's like an argument I probably should make. Yeah, so I think that would be it. I saw someone say that the script for this video was so LLM coded that it was hard to listen to. I saw that too, and I thought that was hilarious. I think, what did I respond to that one with? Can I get it right now? LLM? Oh, no. Nope. Unfortunate. Oh, it's because I have this. Can we get it here? Nah, bummer. Yeah, I don't blame. Yeah, no, I said something like, I am dreading the day when I don't know the difference, and that day could be close because I don't know what the difference. I don't know when I'm too swept up in AI speak. To me, information is information. So if I'm making an argument and it is substantive and it's precise, then it doesn't matter. But the style is paramount for these types of things. So chances are I need to just figure out how to port this to something that people hear without thinking it's AI slop. Also, we have a Substack. This is my profile, but under the profile we have the Stan Richton Substack.com, and I started posting. So I posted the script. This is the script of the video. Everything is the same pretty much as what you've seen. And then I posted just like a welcome thing that tells us what we're doing, links, and explaining what I'm probably going to post on Substack. So articles and essays. So any video essay I'll post on this. I don't know if I'm going to make articles separate, maybe for subreddits or whatnot. Weekly, monthly updates. So whereas on Reddit, on the subreddit, I'm going to have the daily or like the per stream summaries. I think I'm going to feed like a whole week's worth or a month's worth to create these updates. And then community spotlights, if anyone, obviously this could involve restacking, which I think is just like retweeting, restacking, or if I don't know how we would do this, but maybe featuring content that I was just blown away by or something. But chances are that content would be on Substack, so I don't know. Maybe I write something about some content someone else has done that's external to Substack. I don't know. I gotta figure it out. I saw the Substack post. Also, someone seemed to repost. Yeah, I saw that. And they called me Mr. Stan, which I thought was hilarious. It's like, it's so obvious that they reposted. I couldn't believe it. like it's so stark seeing the two next to each other. I guess they're not next to each other, but they're pretty close to each other. And that one's actually got a ton of comments, so I was pretty stoked about that. I guess it's all under this one thing. Oh yeah, it's okay. Never mind. It's two people responding to each other. That makes sense. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Obviously, I don't mind anyone reposting this anywhere because exposure is good. This insinuates to me that he hasn't shown any indication that he goes or looks at this subreddit, which is a bummer because I was hoping that he would be able to see this on the subreddit. Perhaps if he did like a top of the month which I guess we're kind of far out for top of the month. We don't have that many, but top of the week I think we're chilling. So yeah. Everything reminds me of him. Oh geez, nice. I gotta give that an upvote. I gotta give this up an upvote. All right. Was it you, Onion? I saw how a random photo of his face gets young. Hey, that's a good community there. Okay, and then the other post was pretty much the landing page of the Stan Richardson document. I pretty much pasted that. So, yep, maybe tomorrow I'll make the summary. I'm kind of curious what comes out of the summary, because I'll probably just throw into Gemini every single summary we've made up until now and just give it like a, it'll be a summary from July to whatever. What was our first summary on our subreddit? July 2024 update stream summary June 20th. Wow. So yeah, it'll have all the details about all of our streams, I think, unless one of those is missing. What do we have? Yeah, no, we have them all. We could do it. Sweet. All right, I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, we probably should do this another time. I should end the stream. But next time we'll check this out. I'll just do one of these. And yeah. Good stuff. All right, I'll probably be back tomorrow morning. Actually, I don't know if it's going to be the morning, but I'll be back tomorrow at some point. And thank you, Swaggy Yams. Yeah, I try to make this fun. Even though we have a lot to work on, I certainly try to make Fridays really fun. And the weekend's kind of also a wild card. But then usually the other weekdays, we try to get productive and do deep dives. Mr. Stan, Mr. Man. All right, yeah, no, thanks for stopping in. This was enjoyable, and I will see you later. Have a good